Welcome to Beyond the Chutes. It's presented by ParaSight Systems. I'm your host, Doug Simcox, and I hope that you're having a great day, staying safe, and enjoying the beautiful winter weather. We've transversed, haven't we, from fall to winter, Sam? It's getting cold up here. We got snow flurries this morning.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
First snow of the year for me, coming up out of Kentucky. So today, Sam and I are recording, and we've got a guest with us. We are at the Rawhide Rodeo Ranch recording studios in Perfard, New York. And BTC, Beyond the Chutes, is on the road again. And sitting at the table with us is Mr. Rob Wright. Now, I've known Rob, probably 25 years, something like that. We worked together in rodeo, worked for Sam in the rodeo. I know Rob is a rodeo competitor. We're going to talk about the events that he competed in and continues to compete in. And he's got a team that's going down the road right now. It's making him a little money. We're going to talk about that. He's a pickup man. We're going to get into what the responsibilities of a pickup man in the rodeo arena are. And finally, he is a rodeo committee chairman of the Attica Rodeo, which last year in 2023, this year, I should say, celebrated their 65th year. So welcome, Rob. Welcome to BTC.
All right. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you here, and really appreciate you coming in. A lot of history. You know a lot of the history up here. You've been in this area since when?
I grew up here.
You grew up. Where were you born?
Yeah, right in Alexander.
In Alexander. And for our listeners, how far? So we're in Perfard. We're outside of Geneseo. How far are you from Geneseo?
We're right between Buffalo and Rochester, right off the thruway.
Right off the thruway.
About 30 minutes from here.
Right off 90.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Okay, about a half hour from where we're sitting. So born and raised there. Where'd you grow up, meaning on a farm, in town?
Had a farm, or Dad should say Dad had a farm. Raised horses, some beef cows. Just always had horses. As we grew up, that was the first thing. You know, Dad would give us a calf. We could do what we want with it. Give us a colt. We could do what we wanted with it.
Really?
And I stayed with the horses and the cows and raised veal calves to get my money to buy better horses or whatever, and or trucks or trailers. And my brothers, they got into other animals, but not me. No. I just stayed with the horses.
Okay. And did you do horse shows with the horses?
Oh, yeah. Dad made us all learn to ride, do the pleasure equitation part of it. Dad was a gamer himself, so I couldn't wait to get to do that. But I had to go through the work first and then game. But, yeah, we were always into shows and stuff.
So a gamer, for our listeners, you're talking...
Well, you're in the horse show world. That's your pole bending, barrel racing, jumping, any of the speed events like that. Speed events.
More exciting than equitation.
Yes.
Time not judged.
Correct. I like that idea, yes. Yeah, I had an issue with the judging, somebody judging me over something.
Yeah, and in the sport of rodeo, right, we got the rough stock all judged. We've got the timed events all about time, right? I know there's some rules you got to follow and everything. So so growing up on horses, doing horse shows, when did you find rodeo?
Actually, I always been involved with the rodeo just because Dad was involved in the Attica Rodeo, but never got involved in the competition side of it until basically after college.
Really? Okay.
Just because Dad pushed, get your education, get your job, then go play.
Okay.
All right. Now we had we did the horse show part of things and the gaming all the way through, but I couldn't wait to start rodeoing, and that's when I got done with college. I bought a calf roping horse.
Really? Okay.
An old calf roping horse that my dad had a fit about, actually, because he had he raised horses. He had 30-some head of horses, and here I go buy a horse.
Right.
And I said, I didn't buy a horse. I bought a teacher.
A teacher to
teach me how to really calf rope.
Okay.
And that started it all.
Where did you find the horse?
You would have to ask me that.
Is that in the classified ads in the newspaper?
No. I went through, actually, Bernie Buckemeyer found him for me. Okay. I can't remember the guy's name right off the top of my head now that had him. And I had him for a couple years.
Yeah.
And he actually ended up passing away. He was an old horse, but he taught me everything.
Really? Okay, so good on the ground, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Knew his job.
Knew his job. And you bought him, he was how old?
Oh, I don't even know.
Okay, and what'd you pay for him? Can I ask?
I don't even remember. That was 30-some years ago.
Exactly.
You know how many horses I've had since then?
But it's your first calf roping horse, your first teaching horse. No, I'm kidding. So you roped with him for a couple years,
Yeah.
and then?
I started training my own and found out the problems with training your own is you don't know what you're doing sometimes. Even though I rode horses all my life, found out real quick, training them to do a specific job like that, like calf roping, you had to do things right. I mean, the first horse I trained, you throw your rope, he stops and backs up. So that's what I concentrated on. Yeah, the first calf I went to Bernie's to rope, I mean, he parked that front end disappeared from me, and I flipped right over his head.
No, are you serious?
And he dragged the calf to me. And I never could get that horse out of stopping on his front end.
Okay.
But I didn't know the difference at the time. I never really thought about it.
Right.
Now I do, and I've changed differently.
Yeah, yeah.
Be a good breakaway horse today. That's what they
Oh,
want.
yeah, they want to park it.
And I got a couple questions, Rob. Where'd you go to college?
I went to GCC, and I went for model making and drafting.
Okay.
I used that actually for 20 years maybe, working in the model making field, and then machining CNC. That was the high-tech side of me that I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Kind of got into that because I loved building the car models, plastic car models.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got into the model making. That whole field disappeared as the computer age got stronger because they didn't need that.
Because you do it all on CAD or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you when I met you, you were doing that work. Heck, did you just retire from that recently?
About 10 years ago.
You stopped.
Yeah, the last shop I was at closed the doors, and I was always, through Dad, I learned the chiropractic on horses, and was always doing that on the side along with the rodeo and the machine shop. And so, a buddy of mine in West Virginia says, if you can make it through the first winter just working on horses and rodeoing, why don't you try it? And I says, you got a point. So I did, and I haven't looked back.
Okay. And you've been doing that for 10 years now?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Because I was doing that on the side before I left that shop.
So just in the greater area here, around here, or how far will you travel?
All over Western New York, but go down into Pennsylvania.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. More people have been dragging me further away. I'll get up to Malone. Down to Albany. Friends of mine down there in the rodeo world get me down there a couple times a year.
Okay. Okay, and business has been good. You
Oh,
made that
business.
first year, and away you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once people find out you're more available, then and you don't even need to advertise. I don't care what you do for a living. If you do a good job and you show up when you say you're going to show up, you don't need to advertise.
Right.
They call you.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you learned it from your father, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad was Dean Wright. Talk a little bit about his background.
He grew up actually right there on the homestead, and always had horses, always had a passion for horses and a knowledge of horses. Mm-hmm. He was one of the founders of the Attica Rodeo.
Okay.
And then, like I said, he was a gamer, and showed horses that way. He showed horses all different ways. And but I never really competed in the rodeo until him and me got roping together.
Okay. Team rope.
Yeah, team roping together.
Okay.
But his horse knowledge and training horses, I keep saying I hope I get to, before I die, I know as much as he did,
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. And so learning from him the chiropractic work, how did that go? Did you drive along with him? Did you, say, feel this?
The funny thing is he had a horse that he knew needed to have an adjustment. He had a guy, this is years ago, come out, and he showed up with a rubber mallet and a piece of wood to adjust the horse. And my
Rubber
dad's
mallet.
like, holy cow, there's got to be a better way.
Okay.
So he found a doctor in Illinois, learned from him, went to a couple of basically schools that he had, and then took all that knowledge and information, the video back then. He had VHS videotapes and books, and it's like any education though. yeah, you can read all the books and do all the videos, but you don't learn until you start putting your hands on them.
Right.
And then he was teaching me, and then he didn't want to travel so much, so he's pushing me to do more. And I was having issues with trying to find stuff. And he's like, do a few hundred more. It'll come easier.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it is true.
Okay.
But, and then it just kind of branched from there. And, you know, and it had no plan originally to make it a business.
Really? Okay.
It was just to help horses out. You know?
Yeah. So if I call you up, my horse is limping, let's say. Say, Rob, I think he needs adjusted. What typically would you come in and expect to find?
Truly, it depends on where they're sore and what the discipline of the horse is and where I'm going to really look.
Okay, so
'Cause
break that down. What do you mean the discipline of
Amish buggy horses? And I'll tell them right off the bat, 9 out of 10, almost 10 out of 10 of them, it's going to be in the back pad area, sore on the right side of the shoulders, just because of the discipline. Barrel racers, almost all barrel racing horses are in the middle of their back.
And what causes that to get out of
Well,
adjustment?
think about a barrel racing horse.
Yeah.
They're going fast, turning tight around a barrel.
Okay.
If they slip, 9 times out of 10, they're slipping on the back end. So if they're turning the barrel to the left, the S end slips out to the right, it twists in the middle of the back and usually pops that.
I see.
That's where the soreness comes in.
I see.
You know, so I mean that's the big thing.
And you can feel that it's out.
Yeah, it's like anything. You know, the more you do it, you get tuned to it. I mean, not only do you feel for the movement of the body, the misalignment of the vertebrae, but watch their reactions. And that's the coolest part of it is, I mean, massage and all that really does help horses too, but the chiropractic, when you can see a horse that is showing signs of soreness, and time you get done adjusting them, they stand there and don't show you anything, that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. That is very cool. And do you feel heat in that injury area sometimes?
Sometimes you do. I mean, you can feel the inflammation.
Yeah.
And that's due to the misalignment causing pressure on nerves and muscles and causing the inflammation. And that's where the soreness comes in.
Okay. So just like on a human being that goes to a chiropractor to get adjusted, whether it's neck or back or whatever, do you find issues up in the neck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can adjust necks that, you know, can't bend one way or the other, or horses that are throwing their head and they're out in the pole. Well, you need to adjust that C1, you know. Had one like that this morning, actually. But, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, well, it's no different than people. We're all the same. I mean, we have the same number of bones. Ours are just a little different size and shape. But if our lower back's bothering, the worst thing in the world for us is getting up and out of the chair or sitting down in the chair. Well, it's no different than the horse. His lower back's bothering him and he's not stopping. Well, hello.
Yeah.
Look where it's at.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you adjust them? With your hands?
Yeah.
No rubber mallet and
No,
board?
no rubber mallets needed. It's all about pressures and angles.
And a lot of hand strength required for you?
Yeah. The worst adjustments or the hardest adjustments are scapulas and pelvises.
Scapula and
Shoulders and hips. When they get out of place, think about it. They're big bones, and it's a big animal, and it's a lot of movement.
Okay. Rotate them, pick up the leg. If you're
Little bit
working
of
shoulder,
everything.
just
Yeah.
feel it, and work it back in.
Yeah. I remember one horse, Dad. I actually dragged Dad down to Pennsylvania to help me on. The guy was an Amish man. He seen the horse happen. He was coming down off the hill to the barn, jumped to jump a washout, and slipped and landed shoulder first into the bank. I got there, and he's dragging the leg. He's three-legged, and just totally moved that whole scapula back. And it took two of us, one on top, one on the bottom, to maneuver it and get it moved in. And the horse had a full recovery. Ended up being his wife's buggy horse after that. But
Really?
that's kind of the crazy things that you run into sometimes.
Are we causing pain when we're adjusting? I mean, do we have to sometimes tranquilize or anything like that?
I don't like to tranquilize because then
Yeah.
you don't see the improvements.
Okay.
Now, with that said, some horses are worse than others.
Gotta
but
be
you
safe.
you got to take your time, and sometimes it takes a few times to get it to move. I try to do it right away, but it does happen. I mean, the pain is that's where the days off afterwards. Just like you go to the chiropractor, he says, go home, do nothing for a couple of days, let that stay in. We don't listen to them, but we're supposed to.
Yeah. And all horses all horses at some point need adjustment regardless of the discipline.
No.
No.
There's some horses that'll never ever get
Really?
adjusted. Just
Okay.
like some people never ever do. They don't
Okay.
have a problem.
Okay.
Once again, discipline, how hard they're used, how well they're used. Some of the horses that really I adjust kind of regularly are some lesson horses.
Okay.
Some of these big farms, I mean, they're giving lessons on people that aren't riding balanced and staying in the middle. They're all over the place. Well, that kind of throws things out after a while.
Yeah. So how would I know? I'm a horse owner. How would I know when to call you versus calling a vet because my horse is sore?
Well, you're looking for basic soreness. Most of the adjustments are between the ears and the tail. I mean, knees, ankles, stifles. Those are things on us that aren't really adjustable.
Okay.
But if you're noticing the horse is being reactive where he never was before, he can't do the maneuvers he used to be able to do. He's sore on one side, not the other. All right, that's all signs of misalignment.
I see.
Of some sort.
Okay. And for our listeners, how do they get a hold of you?
Phone call.
Phone call.
Just a phone call away.
Look you up and and you book an appointment. Say I'll be there whenever, and away you go.
Yeah, I try to stay. Every day is a different location, and you try to make a loop or a circle, and keep the traveling to as much of a minimum as you can,
Absolutely.
or per day.
Good business, right?
Yeah.
Good business.
Yeah, try to.
And always try to schedule those appointments near the good lunch places. That's what I always found.
Yeah, if you got time to take a lunch.
There you go. So back to the calf roping horse. You had this old campaigner that Bernie Buckenmeyer pointed you at, right? You had him for a couple years, and you said, "Oh, I can build my own. I'll trade my own." And you stayed with calf roping after that. You got him trained ultimately.
Yeah, and for a lot of years, it's calf roping and steer wrestling. I didn't even have a good horse. I had horses I could do it on, but because when I was younger and I learned to learn horsemanship skills from my dad, I was allowed to ride the good horses.
Okay.
So I really didn't need to have a good horse. I mean, like calf roping, steer wrestling, them are specific events. And, pretty much all my rodeo career, other than right in the beginning, I was a pickup man. And so I didn't have room for pickup horses, my wife's flag horse, and these specific horses.
I see.
So I could line up good specific horses to help me compete.
Okay. And I know steer wrestling, team roping, calf roping, some rough stock riding in there.
Early on, when Sam and Mike were having some schools, I would try it. But even before then, we used to have Dave Wheeler used to bring some sale horses. We used to call it a Friday night fun night at the rodeo grounds.
Okay.
Get on whatever you want,
Yeah.
And I remember it was the last bareback horse I got on. It was a Mustang. He got someplace out of a sale in about 7.5 seconds. My hand come out and he blew me out the back door, and everybody's going, "Oh wow, you're gonna do great this year." I'm like, "Nope." Grabbing my rope, stayed in the saddle, and never looked back.
Never look back.
I did great. Last one.
Exactly.
Hope you got pictures. That's it. And you might need chiropractor adjustment at that point.
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as rough stocks, I love horses.
Yeah.
So that gravitate towards that. But riding bulls, man, I love that style. I loved riding bulls, but everything else involved with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a job, I had responsibilities, so I didn't really want to get hurt like that.
Yeah.
Started picking up when Eddie had his fun nights at his place, and I had horses, so they'd call and help me to help out, and so that's where I got rolling.
And he's talking about Eddie Phillips.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Out at his place.
Yeah.
Was the camper in the middle of the arena at that point?
No.
No, they had moved it by then.
They had moved it by then.
Well, actually build another arena probably.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
did
it was
they?
one
Yeah.
closer to the road.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah.
Okay. And they just said, "Hey, you look like you could pick up," or you said, "Hey, I think I could do that." How'd you get involved in picking up?
Well, yeah, guys that were going up knew I had horses and could ride, and they're like, "Hey, can you bring your horse and help out? We don't have anybody tonight," that kind of a thing.
Now, if you know Eddie,
Yeah.
And if you know Eddie, if you got a horse and blood going through your veins, you can be out there. 'Cause he used to buck his horse,
Okay.
bring it in, saddle it up, and pick up on him.
The same horse he
The
was
same
bucking.
horse he just bucked.
Okay.
They called him Armed or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get in for our listeners a little bit about picking up. Every rodeo you watch, every rodeo that takes place, during the rough stock riding, you're going to stand out the most. So talk a little bit about in the rough bronc riding.
Let's explain what picking up is.
Okay, very good.
Pickup man assists the cowboys off the bucking horses. But, I mean, before that part even, he's trying to make the horse be the best it can that's bucking. So he listens to the contractor or the flank man, where to set, how to set the horse up, how to help the horse to perform the best it can so the guy can score the highest he can. And then on top of it, to be ready at all times for something to go wrong.
Okay.
To be there for help the cowboy or the animal.
Okay. And what typical things might go wrong?
Guys getting hung up, horse stumbles, goes down, horse gets hurt, it does happen once in a while. And you want to minimize any casualties at all.
For sure. And what's the protocol? What do? You got somebody, he's riding right-handed, bareback rider, got a really nice bind, right? Comes off on the left. And he's barely on his feet alongside the big old horse. What's your job?
Number one, get a hold of him and shut it down.
Meaning?
Try to get a rope around the neck of that horse as quick as you can, get it shut down so he's not getting trampled on. And if you can get things slowed down and shut down, that's why there's partner out there. You got another guy out there helping you. As a team, you try to shut it down and get the guy out safely.
Okay.
Minimize damage to the horse or the rider.
Have you ever reached over, picked one up, and put him back in position?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've done that. I mean, I've mugged horses down. I've had jumped on horses before that come out and sunfish themselves to the ground.
Okay.
30 years of doing it, you see a little bit of everything.
And what you mean is you get on their heads so they can't get up so you can get the cowboy loose and keep everybody safe.
That happened to me at Glens Falls one year. Horse come out, sunfished, hit the ground. And you can almost see it about to happen. And I jumped off, and I was the first one on his head. And all the guys from the Chutes come off, and they got him out. And then everybody jumps off and says, okay, I'm on the bottom of the pile. Yeah. But nobody tripped the flank on the horse before he got up.
I see.
So I'm the last one to get up. He gets up and turns and double barrels me right back into the bucking chutes.
No. Wow.
and knocked the wind right out of me. And Brian Daly was fighting bulls. And I'm like, Brian, you got to get me on my horse. I can't breathe. And they weren't going to let me. Yeah. So he got me on my horse, and I was working with Curdy Walker. And I says, Curdy, you're up. I'm out here trail riding for a horse. I can't hardly breathe. And we got through it, and it was all right. But, everybody thought of the horse and the rider, but forgot to trip that flank. And, boy, he did nail me.
Oh, my goodness. Worst injury you had picking up?
No, probably the worst was Shriners Rodeo in Boston. Mm-hmm. Got kicked in the leg, and
while you were on the horse.
I was picking up, got cow kicked by the horse, and if it wasn't for the chaps in my guards, would have broke my leg. But it was the first weekend because you're up there for 2 weekends, and my leg blew up like a balloon. So we poulticed it and off and on iced it and got it back down and ready to go for the next week. But I couldn't walk for a week.
Nothing broke.
No, but it was close.
Big old damage. Yeah. So calf roping.
Well, actually, that probably wasn't the worst one.
No?
I was wondering if you were going to go there.
In Benton, when I got smashed in the face and busted my face up and was out. Yeah.
Tell us.
It was a Bronco Sam's.
Yeah.
And got a hold of him, and I was reaching down to trip the back. Well, I got the flank off. I was reaching to get the back billet. He parked it, and I still say it. Everybody says he hit me with his head, but I'm pretty sure it was the swells of the saddle bronc saddle.
Okay.
Caught me right in the cheekbone, busted my face up, knocked me out. I was right off laying down where the back of my horse's
Oh, my gosh.
ass. And but surgeries and a little plate back in there.
Really?
But once again,
Yeah.
I didn't. It was a Saturday night, I think that happened.
Yeah, and you had
And so
Rama to go.
yeah.
Oh,
and,
wow. Another performance.
So Monday I got to the hospital and they're like, "Wow, we're surprised you don't have more swelling." I said, "Well, I poulticed my face."
Yeah.
And they're like, "You did what?" And I said, "Yeah, we put horse poultice on my face with a washcloth, laid in bed at night, to keep the swelling down." They couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so they did have to go in and put a little plate in there and stuff. But
No effects today? Everything's okay?
no, I mean, I can still feel some nerve stuff damaged there, and you can feel it once in a while. But 99% of everything is good. But yeah, it knocked me right out.
What horse was that?
The big yeller.
Oh, Sidewalk Sally? Or
Oh, cripe. That was a few years back. I can't remember either. Yeah.
wasn't Taxman?
No.
Okay.
No.
See, and like I told Doug,
What was the one that jumped out at Ellicottville?
Dexter.
I think it.
I don't think we
it
called
wasn't
him Dexter.
No, it wasn't him.
But like I told Doug earlier, I said, don't ask me what went on at the rodeo. I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I'm so focused on other things. That,
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with picking up. Guys will come up and say, "Hey, what did I do wrong?" or "What happened here or there?" And I'm like, "Heck, I don't know." Why they go? Why shouldn't I have been scored better? I says, if I'm watching that job or watching that ride as a judge, I said, I'm not doing my job. I says, I am watching to anticipate where I need to be, when I need to be there. I mean, Santa does this. You remember more of the rodeo on the drive home than when you were there.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely. It starts coming back to you.
Yeah.
You know, because you're always somewhere else, looking around. What do I got to do? He's going to come up. I'm sure Rob, he's going to come off the corner this way. Oh, so, he went the other way, and you've got to be thinking constantly.
Constantly, absolutely. Yeah. And after you pick up the cowboy, right, 8-second whistle blows, pick him up, set him down, that's the end of for that ride. And, well, no, you got to get that horse out of there. You got to get that bronc.
It's not the end. I mean, that's the end for him.
Yeah.
But then you've got, whether it's say in bronc riding, you're hanging on to the bronc rein, you got a hold of the horse, and you're working as a team to get the flank off and the horse safely back out of the arena.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's as much as a tricky job as the actual picking up part.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, because the horse out of the arena safely. Because some of them things get running really fast, and Rob has to come in at the gate and slow down so that they, slow them in, and especially young horses that aren't used to it.
You bet. You bet.
There's many aspects.
Yeah, a lot of aspects. And after the bronc ridings are over, your job isn't done. You're out there during darn near all the events, maybe except the cowgirl barrel racing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You're out there for everything. Your job is the arena sweeper. You got to keep that arena cleared out. Getting stuff out of the arena that doesn't want to leave. Not just bulls. I mean, calves, steers, sometimes people.
Yeah, no doubt. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I'm good.
You're good. So what have we not talked about on the pick-up portion of the job? You're in the grand entry. You got to make the grand entry, right?
Well, yeah.
You bring up the tail typically.
Yeah, usually you bring up the tail, in case something goes wrong during the grand entry, but also that way you're the last one going out the gate to come right back in.
To get introduced back in for the game.
And I do have one more thing.
Okay.
Like we talked about earlier, the pickup man has to have, horses he brings with him and everything. And them and the secretary are the most underpaid people in the rodeo business.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I might not say that if I was still in the rodeo business, but that's true.
Yeah.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. You do it because you're a passionate love to do it. Mm-hmm. And inevitably you have your own horses. I mean, that's what's kept me in the game for 30 years doing this, is I have quality horses. Not only do I try and do my job the best of my capabilities, but I have horses that do it. I've got 6 horses right now that are going good, and I'm starting another one. And everybody's like, man, you're on the way out. And I'm like, no, heck no. As long as they're hiring me and my horses are working, I'm going.
Okay.
I'm not, you know.
And how many horses, let's say it's Benton Rodeo weekend, so 4 performances you're going to be working. How many horses will you haul?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Mainly because you just don't have a big enough trailer.
Okay.
And the situation I get myself into, and most pickup men do, is when all else fails, go see a pickup man and use one of his horses for something.
Okay.
And so you, as a competitor, you know, I try to keep my horses working as, you know, say team roping, heading and heeling. But I also, you know, it's funny, all the years I steer wrestled, I never really had a steer wrestling horse because I got on good horses because, once again, I didn't have the room in the trailer. The team of horses I got now, I'm picking up and steer wrestling with them. And then I also got to leave a hole for my wife to carry the flag. So,
exactly.
You know, 4-horse trailer, you lose a hole.
So are you hauling 3 just for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's times when I'll take out dividers and haul more.
Okay.
And you know, it's funny, like, you know, you're hauling 3 and you're hauling your wife's flag horse, and it's just, what do you need them for?
Yeah.
There's never enough.
Yeah.
You're just going to be there.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, there's been openings of rodeos where I'm standing on the ground outside because all the girls in the opening are using my horses to do the opening.
Okay.
You know,
Okay,
because, you know, they don't have something that can do it.
You bet.
You know, and that's the hard part. You know, and I've done it for years, is you try to do everything you can to make the show. It's a performance. It's an entertainment at your level you're doing.
Yeah.
But at some point you get, you know, no. You just got to say no because, you know, judges get on your horse to flag and they bring him back all lathered up. I'm like, what the heck did you do? Well, they won't leave his face alone and keep poking him, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and so as a horseman, that's when I get frustrated and I say no.
Yeah. And that makes sense. So you're hauling 3 horses. What are the attributes? Just think pickup right now. Just pickup horses. What are the attributes? What's the size? What are you looking for in a good pickup horse?
Between 15, 16 hands.
So big.
Yeah, I don't any bigger than that, especially around here, is too big.
Okay.
I had a paint horse one time that was 17. He was awesome. He was very athletic. Heck, that's when the boys were riding ponies. You got to try to get somebody off a pony on a 17-hand horse. It just didn't work. But I like 15 to 16.
Okay.
Got some size to him, width-wise, and definitely ability. Athletic. I'd rather have a horse with speed than when I got to kick and kick and kick to get there.
For sure.
But just like the new horse I picked up this year, he's going to be a big, solid horse. I'll use him a lot for bulls when I get him there. But he doesn't have the handle. Well, I got a year of putting a handle on him the way I want it before I really throw him into the mix.
Yep. And what you're looking for a handle, good reining, what are you looking for out?
You can do anything with a broke horse.
Okay.
You know, I mean, one of my best horses now, when I got him as a 5-year-old, you couldn't ride him with one hand. You had to use 2 hands and plow around. I'm like, how can I do my job?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I mean, I like using rope and reins, one solid rein, not split reins.
Right.
Not that I can't ride with split reins, but there's times when you're trying to get back billets on saddles and stuff, I drop the reins and I use 2 hands. My horses stay there because I've trained them to stay in there.
I see.
And they'll follow. So split reins, I can't drop them like that.
Yeah. Can you work an entire rodeo, 4-day rodeo? Can you work an entire performance, I should say, on one horse? Or do you split them up?
Oh, I split them up.
Okay.
I mean, if push come to shove,
yeah,
you could.
Okay.
But once again, it depends on the number of entries.
Okay, yeah.
And how much work you got to do.
Yeah.
If you don't have to drag any bulls, just by chance there's not a whole lot of horse riding, you could get away possibly with 1 horse. But I would never do that to my horses.
Okay.
I mean, I got circuit finals coming up, and I'm taking 5.
Really? You'll have 5? All 5 that you can pick up off?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, every horse has their strong suits.
Yeah.
They may be better in the bears, just to have a little more run, not as much size, don't want to pull quite as much. Bull horse or a bronc horse, they can handle the bigger animals better. Stuff like that. You just kind of use them where you have to. But in the same token, my Hazen horse is the smallest horse in the farm, and Saturday night, I was dragging bulls with them.
Really? Okay. So talk about dragging bulls. You've used that concept a bit for our crew, for our listeners.
Well, a lot of the newer, younger bulls that don't know how to leave the arena or have not had the time to be taught.
Yeah.
That's the pickup men's job. You got to rope them and escort them out of the arena. Ideally, I do not like the drag bulls, but sometimes that's the only way you get them out of there.
Okay. And, we were talking about this little horse and all that. And what makes a good pickup horse, in my mind, heart makes a lot of it.
Okay.
I had a horse, Rambo. You knew Sam roped off a Rambo. He knew Rambo. He was only 15 hands, but I mean, he had a heart the size of the world. I mean, anything I did with him in the whole rodeo industry, he did.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I mean, I got to work St. Teat because of him.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Rambo.
And his half brother was my Rambo.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Actually, I told a story one day about how Sam bucked Rambo and then you picked up off of him. And Sam corrected me. He said, no, that's not exactly how that worked.
Yeah, that's funny.
But you drag bulls out. There's some timing there, meaning you get in through the out gate.
Well, right there, that's another side of the whole pickup. You've got to be able to read animals.
Yeah.
Not only to get around that bull so you don't get hooked or hurt, your horse hurt, but to get them caught and get them out of the arena. And it's the same thing, whether it's a steer or calf or whatever. You got to read, hey, this one's going to turn around or this one's going to go on out. I don't have to go chase them. Okay. But that's reading them and paying attention to what you got to do.
Okay. So you said you've got pickup horses you actually are steer wrestling with. So both a dogging horse and a hazing horse? You're hauling a complete team.
Yeah, I am now. It's funny. My dogging horse, let me back up. This year, my hazing horse got hazing horse of the year for the AFR. That's the third horse in a row now I've had.
Nice.
And actually, the horse that they're jumping off of, dogging, who I still love to haze off of, but I needed a different dogging horse. He was a hazing horse, and he is still awesome. But just like that, to keep them reeled in and working in mindset, I go back to picking up with them every chance I can.
You do?
Yeah.
And that's just good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I everybody thinks these, especially the bulldogging horses, are just a bunch of runaways.
Yeah.
I like a broke horse.
Yeah.
You can put them in the corner, you can hold them, you can move them. I mean, if the hazer misses the haze, that horse will run all the way over to the right and give you the jump. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Since I've been out west for quite a bit, those bulldogging horses are broke. They're broke horses.
Yeah.
And like when Colton went to Calgary or Cheyenne, he bulldogged off his hazing horse because he scored so much better.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Here's a 20-foot score that they might walk out first time the steer left the chute, look around. You got to sit there. You might have to sit there for 15 seconds just waiting.
Right.
And
right.
that hazing horse scored, and so they
that's
changed
just
it up.
Most of the guys that I know, their bulldogging horses come from the hazing side originally.
They do.
Yeah, you get them started there because you got control the whole time. And hazing horses have to be faster and more broke than the dogging horses.
Really? Okay.
Because think about it, you as a bulldogger, you can go and nod, or you can be going when you nod. The hazer, Joe picks up on this at the NFR. I watch that hazer, and if I think he's going to be nodding, or if I see him change the color in his face, or he blinks before he nods, I'm going.
Okay.
Because I need to be there.
Okay.
To give him the best shot he can. So that's where, I'm a strong believer. That hazing horse is definitely faster and more broke, but it makes it easy then to slide him over and start a new hazing.
So no retraining, no reschooling to move him from the hazing to the dog.
No, not really. I mean, make sure he goes through a barrier, but most of that's already done. But
and you're going to hang offside him for a little bit.
Some horses don't take to that. I had picked up a little reining horse that I thought had a lot of speed. I thought I could retrain him either breakaway or as a bulldogging horse, but he never would handle hanging off the side. And rope whooshing over his head just freaked him out. So he found a different home.
Yeah.
But,
and hazing is so important. You know, I'm learning so much more of this. But one year at Attica, they didn't have a hazer, and I was just a kid. You know, I was probably 20 years, maybe 18, and I had just bought a horse. It was supposed to be a bulldogging horse, and they said, well, will you haze for us? I said, I've never done it. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. Well, that's all. We don't have anybody, so you do. And I did 4 guys, and I was laid on 3 horribly. Yeah. And the only person that told me what to do was Mike said, now, when I drop my chin, you go. I didn't know, you know, I was sitting back and it was okay. Yeah. But I had no clue. No. It was,
how would you know how to
the poor guys, they probably wanted to go whip me or something, you know. But,
well, and if you're in this business, I don't care how long you've done it, you know, who you are. You're hazing at the NFR, you're hazing in the backyard open rodeo. You're going to miss a haze sometime. Yeah. I mean, there's just no way around it. It's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, at the AFR this year, I hazed 6 out of the 12 guys. Thank God, Coy was doing all the splits, and he just made sure that I had every other one, which kept my hazing horse good. Okay. Last weekend, I had to haze 5 in a row. By the 5th one, I mean, he was either, jumping out of there or locking up. I mean, he would just, it was a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
But if you can break it up, they can keep solid.
Okay. And are you still dogging yourself?
No, I quit a few years ago. Not because mentally I wanted to, but it was actually at Attica. I got hurt, pulled a groin, and the next rodeo we were in Maryland. And, well, it's like everybody, you know, I've taken some Banamine to get through the pain, to get through the next rodeo, and so I could team rope and pick up. And I won the team rope and picked up, and I'm like, wait a minute, why am I taking a chance on getting hurt when I can keep doing this? Yeah. So that's why I quit. You know, and like I said, for years, I never even had a bulldogging horse or never even thought about taking one of my horses to make a bulldogging horse because there were so many good horses. Okay. Then for a long time, there wasn't any good horses around. So guys were entering and saying, hey, what do you got that you can get on? I'm like, well, okay, here, get on this one.
You bet. And clearly, the Hazen Horse of the Year, AFR, right? APRA, I should say. So you mounted up, you mounted up how many guys, full team for you?
The whole team was 3 guys. Yeah. And then hazed for 3 more. Okay. The 3 guys that mounted my horse, Matt Fisher out of Canada, Coy Dyer, and Steve-O. Okay. And then I hazed for Rooster, Chaz, and Nick. Every guy at least got a check. Okay. The 4 holes in the average were 3 of them were on my horse and 1 was Rooster that I just hazed for. Okay. Matt Fisher ended up year end. Coy won the average, you know, and Nick ended up rookie of the year. So, I mean, it was pretty awesome on my side of it to go down there and help them guys and do that. Yeah, and from a business standpoint, right, you own the team, you get a portion of the winnings. Yeah, you get a percentage off of it. I mean, you don't get rich, you know. Yeah. You know, if you're going for $30,000 a night like at the NFR, you can make some real money. but still, you know, it does help pay the feed bill, should I say. Yeah, for sure. And what's cool, and I didn't know this until you shared it, I didn't know you were using your dogging team to pick up on. That is so cool. That's well-broke horses. Well, that's a lot of guys won't do anything different other than that. The only thing I do different, all the horses I have are pickup horses. That's me. I'm a pickup man, you know. But because they are athletes, you can find other avenues. The only thing I've done different with those horses, if I'm using them for hazing, not so much hazing, I guess, but definitely bulldogging is I don't use them for roping. Okay. Because roping, I've got to stay behind, keep a position. I want them to be free rolling by. I see.
Yeah, and there was a girl down in Texas last year. You know, she said, when go trail riding on my horse, that's relaxation for her barrel horse. She said, but when I let my husband rope on it, that's therapy for my barrel horse. Exactly. Gives their mind something else to do. Okay. Gets them off that constant same regiment. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I use the picking up. I mean, that's why I say every chance I get, I pick up with them. Okay.
And a lot of people don't do that with their horses. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, whether it's barrel racing or bulldogging, and that's or calf roping, and that's why they have issues.
Yeah. yeah. And when they have
Cross-training.
issues, who do they call? Right, get them adjusted.
Well,
right.
sometimes it's a training issue, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But repetitive stuff too, right? So I know you work the finals in Ohio for the American Finals Rodeo, right? For the APRA. You talked about working the circuit finals. That's the First Frontier Circuit of the PRCA.
Correct.
In Harrisburg.
Correct.
And that's how many days?
3 days.
And that's like the second week of January.
Yep, that's coming
so
up.
you got time off between now and then. What do you do? I mean, do you stay in the house, roast?
No, that's the hardest part about that finals being that time of year is, you got 4 weeks now to try and keep horses rode up and in shape to handle it going in that warm building.
Oh, true.
But that's also why you take extra horses. You don't run them into the ground. They're going to get sweated up. They're going to be hot. But, take care of your horse. Okay. That's all you got when you get done. So you break it up. You keep them in shape as best you can. And definitely cool them out and take care of them after. They always want you to rush to the word ceremony later. Remember, I'm the last one out of the arena and the last one out of the barn. It's hard for me to get there sometimes.
Yeah, that's for sure. And how many shows a year, weekends a year are you gone? Are you out?
It varies a little bit every year. I probably had 40 rodeos this year.
Okay. Two performances each?
It can be as simple as one performance to 5 performances.
Yeah. And how far are you traveling? Harrisburg's a bit of a run for you.
Harrisburg's 5 hours.
Okay.
The furthest we go is up to Maine.
Okay. That would be a run, yeah.
Right now, Maine, you get down into Maryland, Virginia, Ohio, but pretty nucleus around Pennsylvania, New York.
Okay. And you're an out and back guy, meaning, I'm going to go to Harrisburg. I'm going to be there all weekend, but I'm back to work on Monday morning kind of a guy?
Yeah, for the most part, you try to. I mean, remember back when Eddie Peck hired me to go while that was up to Painted Pony when he had it. And years and years ago, and Gene called me and said, hey, we need another pickup man. Bud Fisher took his thumb off. And I'm like, all right. I said, the only thing is I need to know ahead of time where I need to be so I can plan on it because I always had a job. Yeah, I can get out of work. I mean, they always were good to me about that. Mm-hmm. Usually didn't make it there early to do any kind of setup, but I always like to take a little time afterwards if I can and let the horses cool down, have a bite to eat before I hit the road. Yeah. So a lot of times I'd help tear down a little bit afterwards.
A lot of late night driving.
Oh, lots of late night driving.
Yeah. And right now, I was joking, you've got rodeos now that you're doing every weekend?
Yeah. Well, Dylan, who bought Sam, their family also has the Bull Ride Mania. And so they got rodeos all winter long out in Fredonia.
Okay.
And
PA.
so pretty much between there and Garwood Arena, I've got rodeos almost after this month, almost every Saturday.
Okay. And we talked a little bit about what, Gardenia?
Garwood.
Garwood, Ohio.
No, it's Columbiana, Ohio, but it's Garwood Arena.
Garwood Arena. We talked a little bit. That's where the FR was. Mm-hmm. What'd you think of that building?
Oh, it's an awesome facility. Justin does a great job out there, and he's learning every day. But what they've done with that facility to kind of make it a go-to place, and it's getting better every day.
Okay. Now, do they do their own rodeo there?
Yeah, we got 4 rodeos this winter out there that they're doing themselves, IRA rodeos.
And so they got their own stock?
No, they're not. They're hiring All-American to do the stock.
Okay.
But it's the facilities rodeo.
Okay, excellent. Then you're still team roping? Mm-hmm. And going pretty hard with that? I mean, like every show you're in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as long as I got a partner, I think I got a chance to win one. Most of the time, that's the hard part with me as a competitor, especially with the team roping, is you're at the rodeo for the duration. It's a 5-performance rodeo. You're there for the 5 shows. You're not traveling up and down the road hitting 4 or 5 rodeos a weekend. So a lot of times we end up, over the years, I'm roping with the other pickup man or guys that are coming in looking for that second partner, and I just let them enter us up however it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's got to be tough because nobody is going to stay there all weekend. They want to travel. If they're good, they're going to go to many rodeos as they can get to.
Sure.
You know, and that's where it's made it hard over the years to make finals as a competitor, because you're electing to do a job and be stuck there and not get the opportunity to build your winnings up to make it to a finals. Now, I've been lucky enough over the years that I've made it to the AFR in all 3 events and picking up before, you know.
Okay.
But like the circuit finals, I just don't get to enough and have it's tough out there to win all the time, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I don't rope, but when I did a little bit, and it was at my rodeo, they got the saddle and the rope on the horse, and you know, you jump on and you throw it, and then you know, if you catch, you catch, and if you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
There's no thought about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's a lot with him too that way, but it's hard to do a job decent when you're working your other job.
So have you ever thought, man, maybe I should just go compete this year, just go hard?
Well, I've had guys that ask me that, you know, especially like when the circuit finals put up so much money, and like, why don't you just go compete in the team rope? And I'm like, that's just not me.
Okay.
I mean, I love to compete. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I can go to a rope instead of doing something with the family at home, I will, you know. You know, and that's kind of why I'm the black sheep a little bit. But for me, I don't know. I guess ever since I started picking up, that's it for me. You know, I love competing.
Okay.
But I love picking up rocks.
Man, by the time you throw the competing on top of all the other work you got to do, it's a heavy 2.5 hour show for you.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not 2.5 hours. It's long. It starts before that. I mean, 3 hours before that, you're out there sorting stock.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you're getting all your other horses ready, and then you got to get everything warmed up. Okay, the show starts at 7:00. You're hoping by 11 you got things taken care of.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Busy. Man. Been doing it. When did you start picking up? I know it was at Eddie's, volunteer, if you will. Or got recruited, however you want to put it.
It had to be the mid-'80s.
Okay.
Sometime when I started actually picking up here and there, and I actually competed in my first AFR in the steer wrestling in '89, and it was before that. So
okay, excellent. And you said you worked St. Tite.
Yeah, I got to work that for quite a few years until they started getting the guys out of Calgary. That was kind of cool because the Frenchmen they never had team roping, and they didn't rope very well. So that's how I got to go up there. I had Rambo, he'd rope and drag anything, and so I'd go up there, and I can remember I'd use my whips to drive bulls out, but when they didn't go, you'd rope them, and I mean that place would go nuts when you roped a bull. You know,
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And even horses, they go crazy when you catch something. They just go crazy, and they still do to this day.
Still
you know, it's like
absolutely.
Oh, I mean, talk about Mardi Gras Western. That's
a good description. That's a good description.
You know, Dale Jurgen, first time he went up there, he's sitting next to me, and they get that music going beforehand, and you just sit on your horse and you can feel the ground bouncing. Yeah. He's like, "This is unbelievable." I'm like, "Yeah, it gets wild. Get ready."
Yeah, they stand up and dance when they drag the arena.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So next subject, you're rodeo committee chairman.
Yep.
Attica Rodeo, 65 years this year. Tell us a little bit about that responsibility.
It's a passion I love again. I mean, trying to help produce a rodeo to the best you can. Yeah. The hardest thing is, aligning everything between the stock contractor, the acts, the announcers, the clowns, I try to keep behind the chutes information, take care of all that stuff.
Okay.
All the paperwork there. I try to let the president and the rest of the committee handle in front of the buck and chutes as far as, the concessions and stuff like that.
Sponsors, that sort of thing.
Sponsors and that. But even like that, the whole rodeo, We have different committees, different groups, or different individuals that take care of different parts of it.
Okay.
There's no one person that handles it all because you never could do it.
Yeah. And the committee's working all year long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's never enough time.
Yeah.
I've got everything lined up as far as myself. I've got things lined up for this next year, but I'm already starting now to try to line up acts and clowns and everything for the following year.
Following year. Okay.
If you don't start early enough, you end up with what you end up with.
Yeah. And this year, this summer, this August was the 65th 65th annual rodeo. How'd it go for you?
Oh, it went great. We had good weather, lots of contestants. I mean, the hard thing this time, in this day and age, is enough horse riders to cover that number of shows.
Yeah.
Some shows you're overwhelmed almost, and other shows we had one that we didn't have any, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we're trying to rectify that this upcoming year.
Yeah.
Out in Western Pennsylvania, they're introducing a novice situation.
Okay.
So we're trying to get them kids to come up. Actually becoming more popular is the ranch bronc riding. So we're trying to encourage some of them guys from the south to come up. And some of them guys, it gets a taste of bronc riding, and then they switch over to, regular saddle bronc riding.
Right.
So you're introducing something that way.
Yeah.
But bottom line, you're always trying to produce an entertainment show.
Yeah.
And that's what I really push on the cowboys themselves. They think some of them think it's us, and I'm like, no, it isn't. You're a part of the entertainment. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to do, and you've got to follow the rules because this is our entertainment for those people. They're paying your bill.
Yeah, the folks sitting in the stands.
Yes.
Yeah. And what do you have in store for the rodeo? Where are you headed? What's your vision for the next 5 years?
Oh, I'd like to keep it growing. I mean, I've already told the committee I'm going to spend an extra $8,000 this year in side stuff and added money and buckle awards, stuff like that. Just to not only to encourage the cowboys to make sure they come to my rodeo, but to come and enjoy my rodeo.
Right.
And I shouldn't say mine. It's ours.
Understood.
It's the committee's.
You bet. And any new stands or anything coming in?
We did some we always doing improvements, but finally got rid of all the different the old chutes. Got some found some nice WWs. Had to do some repairs too, and got them in. Had to revamp the whole front end of the arena for that. We just spent a pile of money on LED lights last year. For this year, which was really cool because the act we had this year, Paxton Rodriguez, he does a fire whip act and his trick roping. It was the first year in 65 years we were able to do a black house, outdoor rodeo black house. Wow. And then he could do his fire act and then bring the lights right back up. It was pretty cool. It was worth every dime we spent.
Yeah. Well, that is absolutely excellent. Got all the food stands, you got all the concession stands, and for our listeners, there's always something to do when you go to Attica.
Oh yeah, that's the vendors and that's what they're there for. Is so you can get there early, spend time, do some shopping, and try to be a complete experience.
You bet.
And fun.
You bet. And what's your dates for 2024?
First weekend of August.
First weekend of August.
Yeah.
And they get their tickets where?
First full weekend.
First full weekend
in August.
Don't mess up.
First full weekend.
Yeah.
It'll start on a Thursday night and go through Sunday.
And where do they get their tickets?
Go right online.
Yeah, easy to find.
Yeah, it's becoming easy and more popular that way.
And some great videos out there. I saw a video, young man, Mr. Wright, put it together.
Yeah, my nephew.
Your nephew. Wonderful. Absolutely enjoyed that. Great video. So to our listeners, go check them out. AtticaRodeo.com?
Yep.
Okay. And we'll put that in our listener notes so you can go find it, click on it. Get your tickets now. No time like the present. You got money. It's Christmas time, but it's okay.
It's surprising. A lot of people do that.
Yeah,
they get them and give them for Christmas presents. I mean, we've already sold some. Kenny handles all that and done a great job for us doing that. Yeah. And it does. We've gotten now we're I mean, between the credit card machines and the online tickets and that, you can get right in easy.
You bet.
Still get them at the door, but
yeah. Cool.
Better not try Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah.
Get them now.
Yeah, with the party Friday and Saturday night, you better have them beforehand and get there early.
Now, what's the party? What are you talking about?
Oh, we have a beer tent there.
Yeah.
And it
has closed down, though, at what, 11 o'clock?
Oh, yeah, right. It gets rolling about 11 o'clock. It closes down when they say, hey, we got to shut down.
You got music and everything going on?
Yeah, we have bands every night and the beer tent. And, you know, it's kind of funny. That whole thing started years and years ago because the town used to have a lot of bars in it. But with the prison in town, it had a lot of bars. But then that weekend, the Cowboys would go up there and raise a lot of hell. Okay. So the town would get mad at them. So they started having the party down there to keep them down there and keep the town not so mad at them.
I didn't know that. That's good history.
And it's became, you know, a great thing. And that's, you know, that's kind of how things have changed, too, with rodeo. I mean, it used to be, like, when I started out, a bunch of us guys used to go to Canada, Ontario. And they had one association, one rodeo weekend, and everybody was there. And all them Canadian little towns, they had little hockey rinks. And that was the bar for the weekend. And we used to have some heck of a good time with parties there. Well, now everybody's going 10 ways to Sunday to the next rodeo, so they're in and out. And it's kind of nice, and that's what I really like about the party at Attica is they can come and stay overnight and enjoy themselves and either move on the next day, you know, to the next rodeo. And I mean, I know guys that'll roll in there at 1 o'clock in the morning coming in dust flying because they want to get there to have a couple of beers and listen to the band before they shut down. Coming from another rodeo, you know. So
you bet. Well, that's excellent. So where are you off to next, Rob?
I'm off until to Garwood on the first weekend of January.
Okay.
We got that Saturday night, and then circuit finals in Harrisburg.
Okay.
And then the third weekend is Fredonia. Yeah.
So no rest.
You're
rolling.
No, then I got a weekend off, and then it's every weekend all winter long.
Then you go. You go. Well, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate this. Man, I learned a ton about picking up. I had no idea. So impressive to have pickup horses you can also dog off from. That's cool.
You know, I don't know of anybody that doesn't have a pickup horse that's not a multiple use horse. Okay. You know, roping wise, picking up wise, dogging wise, whatever. You know, in this day and age, it's harder and harder to say everybody's horse is a multi-use horse. They're more specific, but that's why, you know, I get people all the time. Well, isn't he getting old? Aren't you ready to get rid of him yet? You know, because they want a good broke horse. Yeah. You know, and I'll go back to what Sam first talked on, you know, as far as the responsibilities and the need for it. And I've kept in the game, you know, because I enjoy it and I keep my price down. I try to. Yeah. But we don't get paid enough. You know, people are like, oh, I want to do that. I says, well, you better spend a lot of money on trucks, trailers, and horses and hope that you can get a piece of it back to pay the feed bill. Because everybody's wanting to do it, and there's not the dedicated stock contractors like Sam and some of them that keep true to you. You know, they want you to ride for the brand, but they don't ride for you. You know, next guy that comes up and has a horse and will do it for nothing, they'll jump in and let them do it. Sure. And that's kind of hard, you know, and frustrating on my end a little bit. Yeah. But I'll never give it up. Yeah. Well, you know.
We appreciate what you do, and this has been so interesting for me. So thank you for coming on the show today. And to our listeners, we hope that you enjoyed our conversation with Rob. If you do, please share this episode with your friends to make your listening easier. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, any place that is a major streamer. You can search for Beyond the Chutes and follow us. Remember, check out the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook group page and become a member. And again, we want to say thank you to ParaSight Systems for their support of our podcast. ParaSight System is a push-button parasitic diagnostic system for pasture animals, horses, cattle, goats, sheep, chickens, and for your companion animals, dogs and cats. You can find them at ParaSightSystems.com. Remember, we have a coupon for 50% off BTC 023 off of your test kits. This is Beyond the Chutes with
Rob Wright
and
Sam Swern.
Until next time, this is Doug Simcox. Thank you for listening.